Hi there guys, welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy, continuing to plough on through the AFC, hoping to get all of them done today. It's been a lot of talking that I've done, continuing with the AFC East and one of the surprise playoff teams of last season, the Miami Dolphins. So last season obviously started off terribly, nearly beat the Seahawks in week 1 in Seattle in a very strange game where Russell Wilson, got injured and it definitely could have been worse, and they threw that game away at the end. Had a little disastrous run, 1-4. The season looked to be over. Went on a crazy win streak, which I certainly didn't think they had in them. And Jay Ajayi really emerged. Arian Foster retired. Always seems to be quite dramatic in Miami, and defensively, a glut of injuries in the defensive backfield kind of doomed them. Ended up getting eliminated. Tannehill was of course injured at that point because apparently drama abounds with the Dolphins. Got blown out by the Steelers in another one of this past postseason's very ugly games. I feel bad for them. They got there and their secondary was so shredded that I think it was always going to be an incredible challenge to compete with that Steelers offense, and a backup quarterback as well. Just not a good situation, but I think a great success. And Adam Gase's first season, I don't think too many Dolphin fans can complain, especially considering what they've had to deal with over the last decade plus. Things looking up. Tannehill really started the season poorly, improved as it went on, appeared to get a bit more to grips with the system. They've got a reasonable receiving core there. I'm not sure about Devontae Parker as a number one. I don't know if he's shown me enough kind of savvy, but he's got some potential there. Played okay this season. Jarvis Landry's one of the best sort of move receivers in the NFL. I think if you can get a couple of outside guys, he's a great option. Kenny Stills, one-dimensional player, but he'll catch some deep passes for you. He'll drop some too, as we saw, and we'll continue to see, no doubt. Jordan Cameron might be retiring. That may hurt. Offensive line, when they were healthy, they looked like a very, very good unit. Last year's first-round pick, Laremy Tunsil, played very well at guard. He'll be moving over to the left side after a move that we will discuss shortly. And defensively, when they're fully healthy, they look pretty good. Got to give a shout out to Cameron Wake, that guy, how he's come back from a major injury, one that really can end careers, or at least have a massive impact on a player's performance. Come back the following year at his age as a still undersized pass rusher and be a pretty dominant player is just supremely impressive. He's always flown under the radar. I think he's been one of the best defensive players in the league for the last 7-8 years. So that was a great story. Defense, they need linebackers clearly. Struggled at times. Other times they look very good. The secondary was up and down like a yo-yo. Need to find some consistency there, I think. But all around, great season for the Dolphins. A bit more luck next season, a bit of an improvement in certain areas. Then this team could potentially be, I suspect, in a similar spot, competing for a wildcard place and just trying to generally get better. Of course, Tannehill's progression, it is going to be integral to this team's overall chances. So moving on to their moves, their needs. Linebacker, absolutely massive need. Jelani Jenkins had a really impressive rookie year. Standard play seems to have slipped since then. Maybe looking for a replacement. Kiko Alonso played okay at times. I think he's the best of a pretty bad bunch. It's a poor overall group. There's a needed defensive end. Of course, Vernon left last off-season to go to the Giants. Cameron Wake, getting up there in age, definitely needs to get younger at the position. Could do with another option for next season as a starter as well. And I think the guard spot, in particular with it's been an issue for a while there in Miami with Laramie Tunsil moving over to left tackle. Absolutely need to get at least one, possibly two guards to fortify that offensive line next season. So in terms of the signings that they've made, Lawrence Timmons is probably the biggest name that they've brought in. Formerly of the Steelers, discussed earlier, great career there. Don't know how much he's got left in the tank, but he certainly brings, some veteran experience and savvy. I think he'll be a liability in coverage. Might be best served as a 2-down backer at this point in his career. If they play him in the middle, as a middle backer, I'm not sure how well that will work out. Quite a big deal considering 2 years, 12 mil, pretty much all guaranteed. Not unhappy with the signing. It's a huge need. As I say, it was the weakest position on this roster. It still is, but they've got someone who is incredibly experienced, should be a leader in that locker room, and assuming they bring in some youngsters to try and develop at the spot, he should help also in that regard. I just don't want to have to see him drop back into coverage too often, because it could be disappointing to watch such a good player struggling in that facet as he's gotten older. Brought in guard Ted Larson, 3 years, 5.6. It's just depth. I'd be concerned if he was starting for them. They do need guards. You never know. Maybe he'll show significant improvement over what he has at this point in his career. I don't think so. I think this is just a guy really shouldn't be on the field unless there's an injury of some description. Brought back Anthony Fasano, a tight end, for his second go round. I assume he'll be the blocking tight end, and he can do that reasonably. Might still be able to offer something in the pass game. 1 year, 2.75. Not one of the horrible contracts that we've seen at the spot. They know what they're getting. He's been with them before. Solid move. Definitely got no complaints there. Safety Nate Allen, who's been pretty poor throughout his NFL career. 1 year, 3.4 mil. I think they've overpaid here. I know they need safeties at this point. I don't like Allen as a player. I think he's a liability in coverage. I don't think he offers much in run support. I think it's a bad contract. Not a fan of this signing. Like their counterparts, though, in the AFC East, Miami have been involved in some trades. And both of them, I think, great work, actually. I think these are the two best moves that the team has made this offseason. Getting William Hayes, and I can't remember exactly how it was Hayes described it on Twitter. He summed it up perfectly. It's like for a pack of gum and a stapler, something along those kind of lines. Like a trade down from the 6th to the 7th with the Rams. Clearly the Rams just wanted to dump him. It may not be a high-end starter, but certainly will be able to contribute in a rotation. He's a good player, plays the run, will get you a few sacks as part of that rotation. This helps, really does attack one of those needs. If they can go get a young pass rusher in the draft, I think that's, they've really done a good job in addressing that spot. Julius Thomas, the tight end formerly of the Jags, has been traded for Brandon Albert. I can't remember if there was some draft compensation as well. This is a really good move. I wouldn't be such a fan of it. I mean, they were going to cut Brandon Albert anyway, so getting anything for him's a plus. But Thomas's contract's quite large, but simply because of the Adam Gase connection, I think this is a really, really positive move. Of course, with Jordan Cameron possibly retiring, as has been reported, then there was a need at that spot. They know what they're getting, or at least they know as well as any other team in the league what they're getting at the position. He'll give them another weapon in the pass game if he can recapture some of that form that he demonstrated in Denver, where he was, one of the better receiving tight ends with Peyton Manning throwing in the ball, which certainly helps, of course. They've got a pretty good receiver group outside of like Landry as one of the top slot guys. No one truly outstanding, but it's a pretty deep group of weapons there, and he will enhance that, you would think. So yeah, this is a good move. Give him a thumbs up for that one. This could potentially end up being one of the higher impact moves made this off season as well. So good job there. In terms of players that left, Earl Mitchell, the big defensive tackle, he's gone. That'll be a loss. I think that opens up a spot next to Sue that they are going to need to look to fill. And Dion Sims left on an absurd contract. Basically signing Fasano to replace him is definitely a plus move. They would have been, absurd to have paid the kind of money that Dion Sims got. In terms of players still out there, Jamon Bushrod performed well at times last year. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to Miami. It appears there hasn't been much interest in him. Jelani Jenkins, I think the team's really disappointed with how he's developed after showing a lot of progress early in his career. I don't know if they'll necessarily want him back. They may well do, just because there is still a huge need. Maybe hope he can retain that form. Abdul Qudus, the safety, great name. He played okay in spots last year. He might be brought back as depth. Re-signed Rashard Jones, of course, and Cameron Wake, both pretty big deals. Wake, I'm not even going to he deserves it because of the career he's had and some of the setbacks he's had from injuries in the last couple of years, come back from and continue to produce. So I won't criticise that. I'm sure there's some get outs in there, of course, with his age and his injury history. I'm sure it's a team-friendly deal in that regard. It's quite a lot of money, but he's been a top player for them. Will not begrudge him, will not criticise the team. He's a guy you just want to keep around because, I think if there's a face of the franchise for me, it is him. Or at least it should be. That's definitely... And Rashard Jones, got injured last year. Noticeable difference about him. He's been one of the top safeties in the NFL over the last couple of years. Sort of 2-3 years, even if most people don't know who he is. Great player. Big contract. Not a huge amount less than Berry got from Kansas City. But, reward players like that. That's what the good teams do. They'll be hoping he comes back healthy and can continue to perform as he has. A real stat sheet stuffer of a player. Does everything well. So great player there. Other losses. No, it was them that lost Bakari Rambo. Yeah, nothing else major there. Donald Butler, the linebacker, formerly of the Chargers, he didn't really do anything for them. In terms of needs, still feel like the guard spot absolutely needs to be addressed. The linebacker spot, I feel like the Dolphins will go after those in the draft. Possibly pick up some guys, in the latter end of free agency. Be good to see them draft some defensive linemen. It's one of those rosters where the holes that are there are obvious and flagrant. They also need some defensive backs, I think, but then some corners, but who doesn't? I think a real positive. It looks like they may have finally found a coach that they'll be able to, settle on. The big question will absolutely remain Ryan Tannehill, who's shown glimpses. At times he's looked terrible. Still a very, very tough situation to be in for a franchise where he's not been poor enough that you're like, well, we have to move on, but he's also not been good enough that you're necessarily happy rolling with him for the long term. So the franchise will go as he does. Got pieces around him. There's no real excuse. Now he's in year 2 with Gase, who is considered one of the top offensive minds in the league. Defensively, there's some holes there. If they can address them in the draft and the rest of free agency, I think this could be a really good team contending for one of those wildcard spots, because again, I expect the Patriots to run away with that division as they tend to do. So what do you guys think? Are you feeling positive, Dolphins fans? I know you haven't for a long time. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. As always, what do you think of Ryan Tannehill? Are you a believer? Are you a doubter in that regard? What do you think of some of the signings and trades they've made? They've been one of the more interesting teams to follow, I think, in free agency. I still think, as I say, there's some massive needs there. How do you think they should attack those in the draft? Drop us a by on Facebook, Twitter, or in the comments below. I'll do my best to get back to everybody. Any suggestions for shows, they're thoroughly appreciated. I'll certainly consider them and try and get them out there as well for people. Follow on Twitter, check out the Patreon, find us on Facebook, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for your time, guys, and go Bucks.